Thanks for tuning in to the Women's Vibrancy Code, a podcast dedicated to helping women move from exhausted to energized, balance their hormones, and feeling turned on by their life, their lover, and themselves. I'm your host, Maraya Brown. I'm a Yale and functional medicine trained women's health expert, midwife, mom, keynote speaker, and self-made entrepreneur. I'm the founder of my signature program, the Women's Vibrancy Code. So sit back, relax, and let's chat about your energy, hormones, libido, and embracing your feminine power. Oh, and you might want to have pen and paper to take some notes on some of these episodes. Welcome back. So happy to have you. So today we're diving into something that isn't talked about enough when it comes to hormones and health. And that's the unseen, the energetic, the emotional layers that shape our physical bodies. We often think of hormones, or I and many think of hormones as chemical messengers, something to measure in lab work and balance through supplements and sometimes prescriptions, right? Bioidentical hormone replacement therapy. And yes, I love ordering the right tests. I love working with clients, me and the team, giving them personalized plans with nutrition shifts and targeted supplementation and sometimes the right prescriptive approach when needed. But if we ignore the energetic, the emotional, the thought-driven layers of our health, we miss an entire dimension of healing. There is a reason why miracles happen and prayer works, and you hear story after story, or I hear story after story of miraculous recovery from someone who thought they had tried everything. So today I really want to go deeper, and I want to explore how our thoughts, our emotions, and our beliefs shape our hormones, and ultimately how our body manifests health or imbalances, right? Vitality or exhaustion. I want to reference The Body Keeps the Score, Louise Hay's work on emotional physical connection, Dr. Emoto's research on water, even bringing in some Thomas Troward, all right, and help us shift our quote unquote dominant thought and in turn shift the state of our bodies. Some Kathleen Cameron work around identity, right? And the power of our mindset. And to ground this in kind of some real life experience, I want to start with a story that Kathleen Cameron, I heard her share, right? She's a woman who touches many in the world of energetics and manifestation. And before she had hired me as her health coach, she had lung surgery. And it's interesting, when I listened to her reflect on the experience, she realized that it wasn't just a medical event. She identified it as grief stored in her body, right? The unprocessed, the unspoken grief that eventually needed a physical outlet, so to speak. So she says she wasn't burning the candle at both ends. She wasn't overworked and drained. Now, yes, I have to be that Yale-educated nurse practitioner that also says I believe there's power in also looking at inflammation in the body and gut microbiome and our hormones to do the right lab testing and reduce the inflammation and address this underlying piece. But also to go, absolutely, the mindset and the energetic piece cannot be dismissed or ignored. And it's what I want to dig into a little bit today, to dig into the actual energetics and emotional aspects of hormones. So how what we don't process emotionally will eventually process physically, right? If you listen to me, I talk a lot about what we consume and absorb and assimilate and detoxify or don't detoxify becomes who we are, right? And that's consuming through our eyes, our mouth, and our heart. Not just our food, although I do believe our food is our medicine. I was working with a client who's really struggling with excess uterine bleeding, and she's in Australia in a very different healthcare construct. And I think of the uterus as that place of creativity, and that excess bleeding in the representation of joy running out. And so, of course, I'm working with her hormonal vitality and estrogen dominance and coming in and iron fortification, but also for her to really go, where is my creativity being expressed? Where is it not? And where is my joy running out? Right? I was also, when I was creating this podcast episode, I was thinking about when I gave birth to number 2 in 2014, my pubic symphysis separated and I had a lot of pain in that area of my body, and I was doing chiropractic work. And I'll never forget one time I went in for my chiropractic adjustment and I was talking about the pain here and the pain there and it's left side. And he said, Maraya, what if you shifted that, kind of flipped the switch and simply identified it as sensation? Right? Okay. So pubic symphysis separated, pudendal nerve damage on the left side. Maybe there's nerve regeneration. And as nerves are regenerating, as healing is taking place, as the recalibration is taking place, what if I simply identified it as sensation rather than pain? And that simple shift, it was like, oh my gosh, you're right. I labeled it as pain for so long. I can change that. All right. So let's get into the energetic foundations of health. Okay. Our body is a reflection of our thoughts, right? So to ask yourself, what thoughts lead you through your day? Are they thoughts about how things aren't going your way? How the world isn't safe? And money is hard to come by? And politics are foreboding and difficult? How you've tried everything, yet you don't have the time or resources for real results? And we go, you just take a pause and look through yesterday and be really honest. What were some of those leading thoughts? Or do you allow yourself to step into abundant thinking where health and wealth and love flow naturally, right? Do you believe that your body can heal, that opportunities are available, and that joy is not something you chase, but something you allow? And when you take an account of yesterday, did you lead with those quote unquote dominant thoughts? Okay, so I mentioned Thomas Troward. He's new for me. Kathleen Cameron has introduced me. I'm taking her Modern Mentor course right now. So fun. It's been so lovely to be able to support her in her health journey. And I'm an expert in House of Manifestation. I get to pour into the community and then also be in receivership, right? That sacred reciprocity at work. Where is their balance? Anyway, that's a total tangent. But so Thomas Troward, a 19th century thinker on the power of the mind, and explains this, I think, kind of beautifully. In one of his chapters, he introduces the idea of quote unquote touching lightly. And he describes how our dominant emotions and thoughts shape our reality, but not by force. Right? So when we're feeling an emotion, we get to look at what was the preceding thought, because it was the preceding thought that created the emotion. Our body's simply responding. And when we allow the new thinking to settle in, what if the way you think about your body, your finances, your relationships is actually creating resistance and creating the somatic experiences, the experiences in your body, the headache, the pain, the bleeding, the exhaustion? We get to, yes, address the physiology. We also get to look at what are my thoughts? Because my body responds to the thoughts with emotions, and the emotions are what dictate our action, and then our action is what creates our lifestyle, right? So when we try too hard to force a belief or change, we actually push it away. But when we learn to touch lightly, to plant a thought and nurture it without gripping it too tightly, to simply allow ourselves to choose new thoughts, we give them space to grow. So once again, what thoughts are shaping your reality right now? And where can we each take personal responsibility to trust that life is not happening to me, It's happening for me and by me. And are you constantly telling yourself that healing is hard, that money never stays, that deep love is elusive, that you don't belong? What if you allowed yourself to believe just for a moment that ease is possible, that your body is capable of balance, that abundance is within reach, and that love is already present in ways you may not have fully received, right? So then we go into this concept of receivership, which I'm not going to touch on a whole lot today, but it is part of that, right? And your body listens. Your life listens. So we get to go, what do I want to choose to believe today? How do I take note of sensations in my body and just take a moment and go, what was the preceding thought? Right? For me, sometimes I'll feel anxiety. I had a really intense fire that came through our community, and that day the family was separated, and it's a whole thing. But I notice myself even today, years later, I'll feel anxious. I'll feel the tightening in my chest. I'll feel the butterflies in my stomach, and I go, what was the preceding thought? Right. I was in the place of worry, family separated. What if this, that, or the other thing happens? And I get to go, no, flip the switch. It's just a story. I'm thinking about the future. How about I go to right now and I shift my mindset. I shift my thinking. I shift the story to something that is serving me, which is absolutely, I know my children are safe. And they're having so much fun, and what they're doing is serving them, and I'm just as safe as well. And then I feel that sensation in my body, which completely changes the future, the steps that I take, and it changes the somatic experience. So it applies directly to our health. If we constantly tell ourselves, my hormones are out of control, menopause is so horrible, I'm exhausted, I'm broken, that becomes the dominant reality. Do you focus on the lack of sleep, the feelings of exhaustion? Or can you move to gratitude and shift your gaze to what is spectacular, right? And then we allow this touching lightly on the new thought. My body is always healing. I trust my vitality is returning, and shift that energetic baseline without clenching, without holding on so strongly to it has to change now. Okay. So let's take this concept and apply it to specific hormones. Okay. So I want to kind of dig into the emotional and energetic aspect: estrogen, progesterone, cortisol, testosterone. So here we go. This has been really fun to create. So estrogen, I think of estrogen as feminine flow. I think of the uterus. I think of breasts. Okay. Estrogen is often seen as the hormone of creativity. It's sensuality. It's nurturing. It also is prolific. Okay, estrogen builds. It builds the endometrial tissue. It governs, like I said, our uterus, our breast tissue, our vaginal tissue. It allows us to feel fluid and radiant and receptive. And when estrogen is imbalanced or too high or too low, we might feel stagnant, resentful, irritable, overly self-sacrificing. Right? We grow fibroids. We bleed heavily. Right? We risk things like estrogen-dependent cancer. We struggle with our fertility journey. We struggle with hot flashes and that fire, right? And to go, Louise Hay associates issues with the uterus with deep wounds of femininity, a rejection of the creative, the sensual, the mothering aspects of self. So when we experience issues with our uterus, our fibroids, those heavy clots, those painful periods, there may be suppressed emotions around womanhood, motherhood, or creation. So we get to go, where is the dominant thinking? What was the preceding thought? Where am I leading with in the stories that I tell myself? Where is my creativity not being fully expressed? Right? Is joy pouring out or running out? And that underlying thought is often, I'm not allowed to receive. I must do it all. Right? So yes, We can eat more phytoestrogen-rich foods and balance it with progesterone if estrogen is high. You can get a Dutch Plus test and let me and the team review it. Maybe add in some DHEA or clean up those endocrine disruptors. Yes, yes, yes. And we can shift to, I honor my feminine power. I'm safe to receive. I'm fully in my creativity. I am safe to create. I am at home in my body. My creativity flows freely, right? Do you feel the difference? And so how do we do this shift? Knowing that change is confronting. Like, I'm asking you to actually change a way of being that might be conscious, that's often unconscious, right? And when we attempt to make changes in who we be and how we think, the nervous system might revolt, right? Going, that's not safe. And so while you're doing this, and you're being open to the idea of the energetics and emotional aspects of our hormonal vitality, I invite you to also step into nervous system recalibration, things like emotional freedom technique, things like tapping, right? I often encourage my clients to do 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So just take a pause. Like, I'm trying on this new way of thinking. I'm trying on this new way of being, and it might feel uncomfortable. There might be a nervous system revolt, like I said. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 is just take a pause. What are 5 things that I see? 4 things that I feel? 3 things that I hear? 2 things that I taste? 1 thing that I smell? It doesn't have to be in that order. But we're just bringing ourselves back to our senses to remind our nervous system that we're actually safe. Okay. This is okay to shift our way of thinking in the attempt to then shift how we feel. And now we're shifting the energetics in the body and the hormones respond. Okay. To be able to say, I'm important. I count. Right. I now care for and nourish myself with joy. I allow others the freedom to be who they are. We are all safe and free. Knowing that when we allow that shift and understand the energetic components of these parts of our body that estrogen plays such a big role on, we're healing those parts of our body and at the same time healing the hormonal balance. Okay, so I want to talk about progesterone. Progesterone I think of as like satin. It's the deep exhale. It's the calming, stabilizing hormone that allows for deep sleep, emotional ease. It's also the hormone of pregnancy. Often I'll see clients that their OBGYN is like, no, you don't need progesterone if you're not bleeding anymore. I go, oh my gosh, it's so much more than just the uterus, right? Progesterone is about trust and surrender, and literally in pregnancy, but also in life, okay? When progesterone is low, we experience anxiety, restlessness, sleeplessness, the feeling of being unable to exhale fully. So Louise Hay links sleep issues with a deep-rooted sense of fear, often the fear of trusting life itself. So that subconscious thought is, if I let go, something bad will happen. So I go, how fascinating. Progesterone plays such a large role with sleep. So what might be the preceding thought that is then creating an emotional cascade and impacting our sleep and also playing a role in our progesterone balance? So what if the shift is, I trust life. I trust my body. I allow myself to rest. And yes, we still want healthy B vitamins and not to push intermittent fasting during our PMS time or our luteal phase, right? Some of you might add wild yam cream and bioidentical progesterone or prometrium, and I'm going to still look at a Dutch Plus test and the energetic piece as well, right? The thing that balances estrogen, that's progesterone, the nurturing. Progesterone in the time when progesterone is most dominant in a menstrual cycle is when our inner critic comes out the strongest. Right? The lights go pointing brightly inside. And so it's a love for her, a love for that inner critic within us, right? Progesterone is a lot around the intimacy of vulnerability and community, having our inner circle. So all of that helps to heal progesterone. Okay, so if your progesterone is low, yes, we get to look at supplementation and prescriptions and all of that and look at, what is my relationship with my inner circle and my community? Progesterone is naturally produced after ovulation. So estrogen leads up, builds, communicates with the ovaries, is responsible for ovulation, and then progesterone takes over. So progesterone is also around fertility. Ovaries as the point of creation. And so we must allow ourselves to create first and then allow that progesterone to flow, the nurturing, the love for self, the love for her, even when the flashlight, that bright stage light is pointing right inside and that inner critic is out strong, to be able to go, I trust my body. I allow myself to rest. I trust my life. I trust my community. I allow myself to be seen. I belong. And once again, change can be confronting. I'm inviting you to literally change how you think. That unconscious dominant thought that plays out throughout the day that we often do mindlessly. And so as you're doing it, allow some nervous system recalibration. Go for walks. Spend time in nature. Go to your breath. Remind the unconscious mind that it's safe to change. Enroll in my program. Come and book that call. Let's have a conversation to go, how can we create a personalized package to support you with nutrition and supplementation and mindset and trauma release sessions with one of the team master coaches, and to dig into nervous system work or come to one of my retreats. I really want everyone to start opening up to this idea of a multidisciplinary approach. It's not just prescriptions. It's not just supplementation. It's not just exercise. It's not just what we eat. It's not, I don't believe it's just our mindset. I know that there's some people believe that they can simply change their state of mind and their thinking, and that will have the domino effect and cure all. I'm not quite there yet, but I do believe deeply in the energetics and the emotions and the mindset behind it. Okay, let's talk about cortisol and testosterone. Cortisol is the survival hormone. Cortisol governs our fight, flight, freeze, or fawn response, right? It's tied to our gut. The gut is that freeze place. I think of our shoulders and our arms. That's fight. So you might have pain in your shoulders, pain in your arms. It also governs your immune system. Immune system is highly dependent on cortisol production and adrenals and fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. Even the legs, hips, pelvis, that's flee. Fight, flight. If you need to flight, that requires strong legs, hips. And so when we think about the parts of our body, someone will come to me and have a lot of pelvic pain or sciatic pain or stuff with their knees. And I go, is there some energetics around flight? Okay. And most of us live in chronic stress. Cortisol stays high, which then creates digestive issues and chronic tension and immune dysfunction, and then autoimmune conditions, right? Fibromyalgia. Well, that's a tough one, but Hashimoto's and Graves and gluten intolerances and getting sick often and feeling run down and irritable and crazy cravings. So then I go, okay, Louise Hay associates gut issues with the inability to quote unquote digest life, feeling overwhelmed, unsupported, or powerless. Okay. The adrenals represent the energy of defeatism. I feel defeated, right? No longer caring for self, putting everyone else first, right? It's the place of anxiety. Okay, so we get to go, am I spending more time than what I'd realized in thinking that's in this world of, I care for everybody else first, right? I feel defeated. It's not safe to care for myself versus it is safe. I love and approve of myself. I trust the process of life, right? Rather than I have to handle everything alone, switch it to I am fully supported. I trust the flow of life. I trust the timing of life. Many of the clients that come my way were ambitious. We're wanting it to happen now versus being able to be in full trust in the timing of it. And yes, I'm still going to say drink your adaptogen elixirs and get your Dutch Plus test and let me and the team review that. We need to look at your sleep and your thyroid support and addressing the source of the stress and the source of the trauma and sometimes the energetics. But to go, can I shift my thinking to be around the theme of I'm fully supported? I trust the flow of life. I'm fully capable of handling everything that's handed my way. I have total autonomy and power in this scenario, right? Okay, so then we talk about testosterone. Testosterone, I think around the hormone of fire and drive. Testosterone fuels muscles, creates energy, right? It's a lot behind confidence and passion. It's the hormone that makes us take action, assert ourselves, okay? Feel a deep and primal vitality. Okay, so when testosterone is low, you might experience fatigue, passivity, or loss of desire, loss of motivation. And so then I go, all right, Louise Hay links libido issues with suppression of joy and passion. So many of you might have heard me say, I want my clients to feel turned on by their life, their lover, and themselves, okay? It's where is your joy? Where is your passion? And is it being expressed versus suppressed? So often with the energetics around testosterone is I'm not allowed to want. Versus the shift could be I desire or my desire is sacred. I'm worthy of energy, pleasure, and passion, right? My passion can be fully expressed. I have clarity on what my passion is. I have deep, resounding gratitude and joy, right? I think about muscles, right? Testosterone helps build muscles. Right? Muscles, from an energetic perspective, is resistance to a new experience. Muscles represent our ability to move in life. So to be able to go, all right, how can I shift my thinking to go to that place where I know that I get to experience life as a joyous dance and then trust that it's all divine. Everything is happening in perfect timing and perfect order. And I don't need to resist it. But I can actually dance through the movement of life. And now I create space for my muscles to build and I create space for my testosterone to build, right? I think about fatigue is usually a representation of resistance or boredom, right? A lack of love for what someone does. So if your testosterone is low, you're feeling fatigued. If you really look at your day, do you feel turned on by your life? Or does it feel like Groundhog's Day? Are you staying in a job or job or running a business that actually you don't even love anymore? And that's what's causing the fatigue. And that's what's causing the suppression of testosterone production because it's more than just chemical transmitters. To be able to move to the place of I'm enthusiastic about life, filled with energy and vitality. And so yes, to better sleep. I want you to know that testosterone is produced when we get deep REM sleep. It's also produced when we do weight-bearing exercise. Maca powder can help. Maybe some saw palmetto is going to help with some of the negative side effects of testosterone. Maybe you're going to add ashwagandha and shatavari, but the iceberg is just the tip. No, the iceberg is not just the tip. Iceberg is the entire thing. And so we go, all right, there are these underlying pieces. when we talk about the body and the physical manifestations of thoughts and emotions, to go, how are they playing out and actually impacting our hormones? So our outside world reflects our internal state. If we are burnt out, if we are depleted or disconnected from our desire, it's not just about fixing the body with diet and supplements and exercise alone. Those are potent and powerful. But have you ever followed the right steps? I have seen so many clients, they come to me, they've seen so many specialists. They feel like they're doing the things. They're dietitians, they're doctors, they're acupuncturists. They're people that have really feel like they're trying it all, but they still feel like something is missing. And I go, okay, well, what if the ultimate transformation requires shifting more than just the physical? My thoughts create my experience. My thoughts pave the path. So ask yourself, do I want to be walking this path that I am paving through my thoughts? And if not, then choose new thoughts. Right? We get to elevate the light. We get to elevate the frequency. We get to elevate the vibration. And our feelings and sensations are simply in response to our thoughts. So when we shift the thought, we shift the hormone. When we shift the hormone, we shift the physical reality in our body. And it can be small, right? I think about a dark room, a tiny little match. You light that match, creates a whole lot of light in a big dark room, okay? You're allowed to take small steps along this journey. But what if the way we treat something as simple as water, both internally and externally, holds the key to the shift? So I want to talk about Dr. Emoto's work. Felt like a really fun timing to kind of bring this in. So hopefully you've heard of Dr. Masaru Emoto. If not, oh my God, so good. Because it's also talking about the energetics and the emotions that go into water and what research is showing around how that water impacts us. So Dr. Emoto is a Japanese researcher. He demonstrated that water responds to human emotions, words, and energy. Okay. He has really famous experiments where he exposed water to different spoken and written words, to music and prayer, and then froze the water. And the water had been exposed to loving and kind and grateful intention. It formed beautiful symmetrical crystals, much like a snowflake. But when the water was exposed to harsh and negative and hateful words, it produced chaotic, fragmented, and disordered structures. Okay, so if water is this responsive to emotion, and our bodies are 60 to 70% water, what does that mean for us? So we're changing our thinking, which changes the emotion, which changes the hormone. It also changes the structure and the nature of the water that's within our bodies. Our muscles are made up of nearly 75% water, and even our bones contain about 30% water. Okay? This isn't just a metaphor. How we think and speak to ourselves quite literally shapes the structure of our bodies at a cellular level. Okay? So water is not just a hydrator. Of course, drink lots of water, but it's also an essential conductor for hormones and helps support detoxification. So every biochemical process in the body relies on water, from regulating cortisol and stress hormone to supporting the thyroid and our estrogen and our progesterone and our testosterone. Without proper hydration, our liver and kidneys struggle to flush out toxins, which then leads to inflammation and hormonal imbalances and sluggish metabolism. And then your adrenals crash and your thyroid crash and you come to me going, I don't feel right, right? So think about this. If the water in our bodies is constantly carrying our internal messages, what kind of environment are we creating? Are we bathing ourselves in messages of fear and stress and depletion? Or are we nourishing them with love and gratitude and abundance? You might want to listen to this episode again. Go back to what I talked about with estrogen and progesterone and testosterone and cortisol, right? And we can create shift. Acknowledge the emotional root. Where are you feeling stuck? Where are you feeling unsupported or unworthy? And what is the preceding thought? Shift the thought. What is the opposite of that fear-based belief? If you believe I'm exhausted and broken, what if you replaced it with I am replenishing and healing? We get to bless and energize our water. Since water absorbs intention, we can have simple practices like speaking affirmations. I don't have it right now, but I have my glass water bottle with a rose quartz crystal in it, and on it, it says love. You can literally just have stickers of words. Use coffee mugs that have beautiful sayings on them. You can play healing frequencies around you, going to sound baths, right? Changing our mind's eye, the words that we're speaking around our environment, can create real shifts in the body. And then we get to support our physical body. And yes, I say we still want to do your Dutch Plus test and your GI map and look at your comprehensive thyroid panel and look at inflammatory markers and detoxification pathways. And I can still recommend supplements and nutrition changes and sometimes medical interventions. But if we ignore the energetic and emotional components, we only address part of the issue. Is it half? Is it 80%? Is it 20%? I don't know. But what if the way that you spoke to yourself was just as important as the food that you ate? What if every sip of water carried a frequency that either nourished or drained you? The body listens. The cells respond. So what message are you sending? Okay, so in closing, I just wanted to leave you with this. What if your body is listening to every word you say to yourself? Every belief you repeat, every identity you hold on to, even the ones that no longer serve you. And what if the exhaustion, the cravings, the hormonal imbalances, the irritability, the frustration, the sleep deprivation, the weight changes aren't just physical symptoms, but messages? And what if your body isn't actually betraying you, but calling you forward? And what if what you want, real lasting change in your physical reality, requires shifting more than just what you eat, the supplements you take, how much you exercise? What if it starts with shifting your thinking? Because when you shift the thought, you shift the hormone. That's what I believe. And when you shift the hormone, you shift the physical reality of your body. So hopefully this has been fun for you to listen through, because it's been fascinating for me to really explore how our emotions impact hormones and what might be the energetic or emotional pieces that are associated with these hormones, and how water carries intention, and how every cell in our body is responding to the environment we create internally and externally. And this is one of the reasons why my team and I take full spectrum approach. We ordered the tests. We optimize nutrition, support you with supplementation and hormonal balance and detoxification. But we also dive into mindset and trauma release and the energetics, because true healing is never just physical. It's also emotional and mental and energetic. So it's what we do within the Women's Vibrancy Code, the Women's Vibrancy Accelerator Trifecta, my women's retreats, even the Women's Vibrancy Accelerator membership. What I want you to know is this level of transformation is available to you. You just get to ask yourself, am I actually ready for it? And if you are feeling ready and you feel the pull, if something inside you knows that there's more to your health than just lab work and prescriptions, or you've gone to providers and you're feeling dismissed, you're not even feeling like they're ordering the right lab work, and you're tired of the prescriptions, you want a more personalized plan that acknowledges food as medicine, and you want a personalized approach where you can feel heard and seen, and you want to learn, you want to understand this stuff, and you go, wow, my thinking is impacting this. I just want you to know that my team and I are here to support you every step of the way. I'll make sure that the team puts the link in the show notes to book a call, and it begins the journey. You get to fill out the application for a breakthrough call. You'll have access to my schedule. We'll pop on a call and just explore what might this look like. And if my schedule's full, then one of the team will be there to make sure that they can correspond with you. But you get to go, oh yeah, I am ready for this. And so then just the final thoughts around this Thomas Troward thinking of touching lightly. When we grip too tightly to the old identity, to the fear and the old beliefs, we create more resistance, we create more dis-ease. But when we learn to plant this new thought and nurture it with ease, to allow ourselves to touch it lightly, to allow ourselves to be in receivership of the support, and not feeling like we have to do it all by ourselves. You know, if you're, hey, Google Doctor, hey, ChatGPT, what might this be? What should I do here? But to be able to actually allow the receivership of real support. Support along the awareness and the personalized shifts. We're here. And so what thoughts will you plant today? What energy will you bring into your body, your hormones, and your life? Because the body listens and the body keeps the score. The cells respond. And transformation begins the moment you decide to shift. It can be that simple. It can be as simple as a decision. And then just to take those occasional pauses and go, what have I been feeling? What was the preceding thought? So happy to have you. Please click the link in the show notes. Fill out that application. I am very approachable. You're welcome to reach out to me at any point. Let me know. Leave a review. Send me an email. What part of this episode felt compelling to you? Because this was different. Hopefully it's been fun for you because it was really fun for me to create. And with that, ciao, ciao for now.